do you really have our back? It's a very big thing for us. It's like trust issues with Cal Poly.
I'm still not totally like, at home here.
I think I feel really isolated though on campus.
I think when people first meet me, they're like, is he not?
Strangers usually infer something about me before talking to me.
Do not put me back in the closet.
That's not normal. That is really abnormal. That is just so fucked up about our campus.
Two guys in a massive raised truck with an American flag hanging off the back drove by and yelled faggot.
Hate speech.
Ignorance.
Privileged and very apathetic.
They're apathetic.
Not quite there.
But it's a much more subversive thing. It's very subtle.
It's just exhausting because I feel as though I've said it a million times where it's like, this is still a problem, this is still a problem, and people just don't listen.
I know there's some people who don't really feel comfortable bringing it up.
There has to be something that can be done.
Go talk to members of this institution and say, what the fuck are you doing?
Keep the university in check.
Like, if you're allowed to be hateful towards me, then I'm allowed to call you out on it.
UrbanDictionary.com defines calling out as challenging someone in some way or putting someone on blast. Cal Poly University is an incredible school with successful programs, thriving alumni, and a beautiful location. But it's no secret that the LGBTQIA students on campus don't always feel welcome or accepted. And while the university experience is different for everyone, it will always be important to make sure that all voices are heard. This senior project short documentary is designed to accomplish 3 things. 1, it will provide a history of Cal Poly's past LGBTQ+ inclusivity efforts and detail different events that have transpired over time. 2, it will highlight the experiences of current-day students and give an idea of what our campus climate is like right now. And 3, it will serve as a media artifact of sorts. Future students will be able to look back on this as a snapshot of what's happening now, and they can track and measure the progress we've made in our inclusivity efforts for our LGBTQ+ student community. In 1976, the Gay Student Union, or GSU, was recognized as an official student club. The following year, unfortunately, the club received a bomb threat along with KCPR. But in 1981, the GSU bounced back and had their first booth at the annual Poly Royal Weekend. In 2000, Cal Poly had its first Pride Week. And 2 years later, it made its biggest step yet towards LGBTQ+ inclusivity on campus, in a move that still benefits Mustangs today. Okay, so how do you personally identify?
Lesbian. Yeah, that's easy.
I identify as gay.
I'm a cisgendered gay male.
I identify as a lesbian.
I am a unicorn. No, I am a homosexual, cisgender, Palestinian, white, just a thing. Human sometimes.
Well, I'm gender fluid, so it changes. I'm a guy a lot of the time, but not enough for that to be my one stable identity.
I guess I'm gay, but I think I identify as queer because it's much more of a political terminology, both in defying traditional modes of sexuality, but also traditional gender roles. And then more than that, queerness also, to me, represents a form of politics beyond sexuality and gender, but also thinking about equity on other levels.
That big move in 2002 was Cal Poly's opening of its first ever facility on campus that was geared towards sexual diversity, the Pride Alliance. The Pride Alliance was born out of an unfortunate incident known as the P incident, where, during Pride Week, the Cal Poly P was painted rainbow by the Gay, Lesbian, Bisexual United Club, but then it was painted over white, not once, not twice, but 3 times. After this event, several groups on campus thought that it was necessary to push for further representation and more spaces for these minority students to get together to ensure that their needs are being met during their university experience.
It's one of those identities that I don't necessarily have to say for myself. Most people just kind of assume, but it hasn't necessarily affected my interactions with people who are close in my circle. It's mostly affected my interactions with strangers.
Slow feels a little bit more open because I think my friends are very liberal in the way that they feel, and they've never once like shunned me because of it, or like, really, Trevor? Or like always open arms, open minds, everything, very supportive.
Socially, it's been pretty fine. I found like a good group of people that, just like you for who you are. And most people I meet around here are just like either accepting or they're just like, hey, you're just a person.
A lot of my core friend groups have all been queer people, and so I personally have never experienced a microaggression, but I know they happen. Never necessarily on campus. I mean, I've definitely been around town, and like one time I was walking down the street and like two guys in a like massive raised truck with an American flag hanging off the back drove by and yelled faggot, which, here's the thing. If you're gonna like insult me, get a little creative, because I've heard that since I was in middle school.
I had been called tranny, which is not fun. I mean, they thought they were joking because I was like, oh, well, I'm actually I'm trans. And they were like, oh, haha, I love trannies. And I'm just like, if you're cisgender, please don't call me that.
In 2003, another homophobic incident took place at Cal Poly. It was on same-sex handholding day, and it was after a celebratory march had just finished on campus. The GLBU booth was struck by a bunch of eggs. Later on, after the 2-month investigation, it was found out that one Cal Poly student and one Cuesta student were responsible. The two confessed and were arrested. But this event shook the Cal Poly campus for weeks to come and showed that although there was a center on campus now for this community, they were still subject to prejudice and hate crimes.
I am very open, and I have gotten nothing but love back. I haven't gotten any type of hatred towards anybody. The only hatred that I've honestly been getting is from other gay students, just because I am using my platform to show that being gay is normal. It's normalizing. I'm a very normalizing type of individual. And I want to show, and same with Jana, we are not going out there, of course we'll have our rainbow flags on at Pride, and we're very proud of ourselves, but gay is not what identifies us. I identify as Anthony Haddad, who is gay, not gay Anthony Haddad.
I'm not just gay. Like, if you look at me, I'm not going to be like, hi, I'm gay. I'm going to tell you all about the things that I do with Mustang News. I'm going to tell you about my pet snake. I'm going to tell you about how I don't ever leave my house and I eat way too much Domino's pizza and I shouldn't be this damn skinny.
It's not going to be something that defines me. Like, I'd rather be like, I'm a great person. Like, I feel like that's super cliche, but like, I feel like it's going to be like, I'm such a great person. Like, look at all I'm doing. Like, look at my accomplishments. But like, I'm also gay.
It's not a big deal, but it's a deal that you should just like find acceptance in and just be like supportive of. It's not something to like make a spectacle.
I don't have people outright coming up to me and be like, oh yeah, you're going to hell. And I'm like, I already know, I'm here. But it's in the way like people, unconsciously react if I say, oh, me and my girlfriend. Like some people like kind of side eye or like kind of get tense, but they don't say anything.
In 2004, Cal Poly held a community pride week. The Cal Poly P was painted over again, twice. But in 2007, the Pride Alliance started making strides. They held a very successful first ever Pride prom. And later that year, they also took part in the National Day of Silence. The event gathered quite a crowd, and afterwards they had a showing of Brokeback Mountain, followed by a discussion.
They don't realize that like you get all this crap that you don't have to deal with. On days when I feel confident enough to like wear my chest binder, wear this shirt, wear my, my guy pants, my baggy ass jeans, like I can't go into the women's restroom because people like, I have had people look at me and, it's really uncomfortable because like I'm just trying to poop. It's a really big problem. Like all gender bathrooms are so important and they're always in the most inconvenient locations in the most inconvenient buildings where not a lot of people end up going.
One incident that happened was at the Queer Student Union dance. The dance was in the University Art Gallery in Dexter. So it started at like 9, it was happening and it was like awesome, it was so much fun. And so there's 2 bathrooms on the first floor of Dexter, and usually at queer events, they're hosted by Queer Student Union or by the Pride Center. we usually will like put a sign over the bathroom gender signs that it's just like an all gender restroom sign, because Cal Poly does not have many all gender restrooms, and it's important to have those facilities in queer events. And so we were going to do that. Before that happened, actually, I tried to go to the bathroom with 2 other students, one who is like female presenting and the other one who's male presenting, and we like were about to go in the bathroom, and then actually the janitor walked by and he said it was that we were about to go into the female bathroom, and me and the other male presenting student, the janitor was like, "You two can't go in there. You're not allowed to go in there," right? And so like we were literally being gender policed about using a restroom, right? And it was like actually really traumatic having that like open confrontation. So that happened, and then about an hour later, we were like, let's put up the all gender restroom signs. And so we put them up, or we were actually about to put them up, and then like weirdly the janitor walks by again and he's like, "You can't put that up. Like, what do you, like, that's against the law. You're not allowed to put signs over the restroom sign." And then I think about half an hour later, someone else tried to put up the sign. I don't think that they knew that the first incident happened. And then I think it was up for like 5 minutes or something. And then the janitor actually called the cops, the university police, and a cop came. So, right, I was talking about how me and my friends were gender policed going into the restroom. And then we were literally gender policed when a police officer came because the janitor called the cops on us for trying to label the restrooms as all gender. It would be easy for us to say, oh my gosh, that janitor is a horrible person. Or we can think about how Cal Poly is not offering trainings for our staff. Right, when the janitor said we can't use the restroom, that's against the law, I mean, that was actually factually incorrect. For me, it wasn't the janitor's fault, right? It was really Cal Poly's fault for failing to educate our campus community about how to interact with people who are different.
In 2008, the infamous Cal Poly Crops House incident took place. There was a noose hung from a tree, a Confederate flag, and signs with racial and gay slurs that were displayed at an on-campus housing unit for agriculture students. The event shook the campus. Afterwards, it was followed by forums, student protests, and even an open letter from faculty from the Ethnic Studies and Women's Studies departments detailing what kind of action needed to be taken and what kind of university Cal Poly should strive to be.
So we could tap into the people that aren't being reached by having the colleges of those people take responsibility and have, a more enclosed forum of people in those majors to be able to create dialogue. What I feel is they're very supportive of it, and they have their opinions, but they're not outwardly going to talk about it unless it's brought up. And who would better bring that up than the people who are teaching them? Their professors, their administrators, their deans.
Like the only time like the LGBT movement has come up in any of my classes was for my liberal arts engineering studies class, which is purposefully an intersectional class. Like I've only had one professor in the past be like, "Oh yeah, I don't care what race, religion, sexual orientation you are, I just care about you learning engineering." And I'm like, that's nice, but also it'd be nice to know that you care about our race, religion, sexual orientation.
One of the things I think that Cal Poly could do specifically is bring more people from the media that identify as LGBTQIA to Cal Poly. I think being able to see somebody like that come to Cal Poly and speak about their experience and their journey through this whole thing is something that would be very promising for those students, and even I guess kind of pushing those students who are kind of in the bubble about like, am I gay? Should I come out? Like, or even questioning anything like that, I think would kind of give them a little bit more pull to be like, okay, like I feel comfortable doing it because so many people are here that it must be something that's supported, and I feel like I can find somebody here that would support me through it.
Like if we could have like a cross-cultural center building where they can like do all their meetings and they can have events, and they have like that's where like women and gender studies classes could be held as well. Like you could have a whole building that's dedicated to this, and that would make this school like so much more appealing to students like that.
I think performance-based activism is incredible. Stuff like the trans fashion show. I did Poly POV last week. I think in the future it'd be really important for Cal Poly to support those things a little more, because I could be wrong, but all the stuff that I've seen that is like along those lines or like in that genre, so to speak, it's all been kind of grassroots, like senior projects, things that take place like on a Monday or Tuesday night.
We need a better Pride Center. We need a better cross-cultural centers. Oh girl, Why put the gays back in the closet? The Pride Center is a closet. Do not put me back in the closet. We need more space in our union, which a lot of students that are asking for that space were the ones that were against getting more space. So it gets us in a very hard position. The ways that I actually see us getting better is not saying like, oh, we need this now. ASI is already working on making more gender inclusive bathrooms all over campus. Those are the good steps that we're taking. But I do feel as if a lot of the hate stems on our campus from students that want it to be vastly normalized quickly and more of a protest style. But I feel like the way of normalizing it is getting involved in a way that is constructive, not in a way that you can have backlash on your students. The old quote that we used to hear when we were children, I'm here, I'm queer, get used to it. I'm here, I'm queer, get used to it, but you're also gonna be my friend.
I would love to see a transformation in our curriculum. This is something I'm really passionate about, is general education and the possibilities of general education, and we're definitely not fulfilling them right now, but thinking about how our GE can be more relevant to students so that they really care about it, and then also more integrated with social justice and sustainability and equity.
I definitely think illustrating that an administration has more inclusivity would be optimal. Like, have people from the LGBT community working in all aspects of administration, especially the higher ups. Like, the higher up you go, the less intersectional we see. So it's really frustrating to be like, these people are technically supposed to protect me, but it's really obvious that they don't understand where we come from as an LGBT community. So it's like, I'd like to see them either include more correspondence from the outside LGBT plus community, or at least have more people in the program. Just to show like, yes, we understand this, and we are having people from the community help speak for you, not just people who don't understand speaking over you.
Later in 2008, members of the Pride Center started an online email-based counseling service for LGBTQ plus students. It was called PRISM, and it still exists on campus to this day. In 2010, Pride Week went off without a hitch. Not only that, but it was the most popular and well-attended event that the Pride Alliance, now the Pride Center, had held so far. And in 2011, Mustang Daily asked the tough questions on gender and LGBTQIA identity on campus. The article covered a multitude of related topics and brought a lot more awareness to the issues that were facing this community on campus. In 2013, Mustang Daily became Mustang News. And in 2015, the Queer Student Union, also known as QSU, established itself at Cal Poly and held the university's first ever on-campus drag show. QSU also took stances on campus-related issues such as the UU referendum and held protests. This was also the year that famous transgender actress Laverne Cox came to Cal Poly's campus to speak, and the year that the first free speech wall incident took place, in which the Cal Poly Republicans' display commemorating the fall of the Berlin Wall became filled with Islamophobic, transphobic, and racist language. This incident inspired the inception of Slow Solidarity, a group of students, faculty, staff, and community members dedicated to a progressive agenda in the community. One Slow Solidarity member received a death threat for his organizing of the march and meetings that took place on campus. In November of 2016, the free speech wall returned, but with less controversy. This is what brings us to now.
If Cal Poly can't serve the justice that we seek and that we deserve, how are we supposed to trust this campus? How are we supposed to believe that Cal Poly's got our backs? And that's the change that I would love to see in the future, is just people being confident in Cal Poly. It's gonna take a while. It's gonna take such a long time, but as long as there is progress and there's no standstill, you know what? The world we seek to create, one full of justice and one full of acceptance, it's gonna happen, but it's gotta take time.
I still don't wanna live my life for the sake of someone else. I would rather live my life for someone else, but not for the sake of someone else's feelings.
I feel like I couldn't walk through campus holding my boyfriend's hand.
People who come from that aspect of privilege don't realize what microaggressions are in the slightest. They're like, well, you're not dying and you can get married now, so you're good, right? And that's not necessarily true. And it's also definitely not true for my trans brothers and sisters who are still struggling every day to just have their identity seen as valid.
I'd like to see people being comfortable to express themselves without living in fear that they're going to get attacked. I want to be able to see trans girls who feel like, you know, they can go out and wear a cute outfit and, you know, feel adorable and not be afraid of it. Sorry, it hit me all at once.
I know this is a lot. It's a lot of really personal and rough shit to talk about.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Cal Poly, are you listening? Are you watching? Are you trying, really trying, to create a university that is inclusive for its LGBTQ plus students? We've come a long way, but we still have a long way to go.